Hey y'all, welcome back to the Book Stamp. I'm Kate, and today I just wanted to have like a little, just like get cozy, grab a cup of tea, wrap up in a blanket. I just wanted to have like a sort of reflective-y chat about my 2021 reading goals for this channel, sort of what I've learned after a year of like really focused reading and starting booktube. So that's kind of what I wanted. I really love watching people's videos like these, so I really wanted to make one of my own. I made a whole nice little spread in my bullet journal, reading journal. I like had my goals written out, and so I sort of did that one evening and just sort of reflected on what I've learned over the years. And so I thought my goals themselves sort of are a basis off of my reflection. And so I thought I'd just sort of go through those and sort of talk about why I decided to make it this goal and what sort of spurred that on, because I think that will really cover all of the reflective-y bits as well. And if not, I'll just edit this out. Oh, I guess I should say how many books I'm gonna read this year. My goal is 75 books. It's 75 books. I said it was 100 last year, but the circumstances, #coronavirus, were strange. So I didn't want to quite put 100 books out again, because I just have no idea what my life is going to look like in a couple months, and what, like, if I'm still going to have commuting time, am I still going to be working from home? Like, I have no idea. So I didn't want to put it at quite as many books, but I know I'm going to be reading a lot because that's what I really love to do. So we're putting it at 75. We're going to read a lot more science fiction this year. So if you like science fiction, stick around. So my first goal for 2021 is to read less, but read deeper and read in a more intentional manner, which it is basically because I did set my goal for 100 books last year. And I feel like that, while I am a pretty voracious and active reader, that was a sort of reflection of the way that my life changed last year, that I was like working from home and had a lot more free time. A lot of my social things, work things got canceled. My life just looked really different. I was like pretty depressed for a large portion of the year, and when I'm depressed, I like to lay in bed and listen to audiobooks. So I read a lot of audiobooks in the year of 2020. And so I feel like I read a lot of audiobooks that I didn't care about, that I just picked because they were already at the library, or I saw somebody else sort of mention them and I just picked them for like no reason. And so I read a lot of stuff that I really didn't care about, and I'm glad I did, because I did think it really helped inform my taste. But when I was looking back at all of the books that I had read all year, which I will eventually make a video that covers all the books I read this year, especially in like January, February, March, April, even into May, like there were months where I didn't like any of the books that I read, and I just like listened to the audiobook because what else am I gonna do? So this year I want to be much more intentional about the books I read, have a purpose for them, even if I know I'm going into reading something that I don't think I'm gonna like, which I'm like in the middle of a book right now. It's for a bigger purpose, and I'm definitely choosing to do that, and I'm not just doing it for like a willy-nilly reason, if that makes sense. And also I want to like be more mindful of the book I'm reading. So even while I'm sort of reading a book I don't super love right now, I'm like taking notes and analyzing what I do like about it, what I don't like about it, the themes. And I definitely wasn't doing that last year. And I'm not saying you have to, it's just something that I really love about reading. That's one of my favorite aspects of it. And I was missing that last year, and I really want to add that back into my reading this year. Moving to reading goal number 2 is to read more Hispanic and indigenous authors. So while I've been looking at my stats for my reading of last year, I made a graph, a pie chart, which I'll link my stats video whenever I decide to make it, that goes into this stuff in more detail. But basically I compared the racial breakdown of all the authors I read to the racial breakdown of the United States. And two of the areas that I was definitely lacking in were reading Hispanic authors and reading indigenous authors. So that is something I want to be much more intentional about this year, as well as continuing to read diversely, not only in race, but in gender and sexual orientation and country of origin and translation and original language, and just really be I want to track that significantly more this year, so I think that will illuminate additional things about my reading. Definitely reading more Hispanic and more indigenous authors is something that is like the highest on the to-do list, on the priority list right now, just from the data that I already have. And I think that's one of the reasons it's so important to take that data and really analyze what you're doing yourself. So that's something I've really enjoyed doing. Number 3 is to read less YA, specifically less YA fantasy, and just broaden in general. So I was looking at my books last year, and if you look at my top 10 of the year, there was like 1 or 2 fantasy books. There was like 1 fantasy book in The Song of Achilles, and you can maybe count the 5th season, but I would argue it's maybe more science fiction. I don't know. It kind of rides that line pretty well. But that was the most books I read. So clearly I was not enjoying them to the percentage that I read those books. And that was also something I kind of discovered as the year progressed, was that I was picking up a lot of YA fantasy and not enjoying it at all, when that was like my bread and butter of my reading for like until this year, basically. So I think that's because of a lot of things. And it's not, I don't want to be bashing on YA fantasy. I'm not that kind of person. There's plenty of that already on booktube. I don't want to contribute to it. But for me personally, I just feel that what I'm looking for in books has really changed. Where I'm a much more critical reader than I used to be. And I think a part of that is just sort of engaging in this community and just reading a lot broader and better books in general has meant that my taste has changed. And what I want from books is not just pure escapism and fun and like a good plot. I really care about character, and I really care about theme, and those things are really, really important to me, and I don't find those as prevalent in YA fantasy. And I know that's a really big thing in like YA contemporary, but I also am an old lady. There were so many YA books I read this year where I was just like, am I old or am I old? You know? And just a lot of the dialogue just reads really young to me now, and maybe that's just because I'm not on TikTok and I'm like not hip with the teens no more, but I've really started to feel that gap. And I think that's a lot because the bulk of the YA fantasy I read when I was still in high school, I didn't really read a lot in college just because I was so busy with other things. And when I first got started reading again, like a couple years ago, back in 2018, I wanted that nostalgia feeling, and I wanted to feel those same emotions I felt when I was reading that like as a teen. So I loved like the Cinder series, and I loved Sarah J Maas, and I loved Marissa Meyer, who I already mentioned, and I loved Marie Lu, and I just loved jumping back in the series and just having these worlds to fall into. And I thought at the beginning of the year that that was still what I really wanted, because in 2019 I was unable to read for medical reasons. And so I kind of thought, oh, I'll jump back in the same way and start reading again a YA fantasy, and just, I really didn't enjoy it. Like, it was okay, but none of it stuck with me. I didn't really love it. So that's why, for a personal reason, I am going to be reading, I'm hoping to read a lot more adult fantasy. That's something I really want to get into. I feel like I really didn't give it a fair shot last year, but something I definitely want to get into. And I just want to be, again, more intentional about the books that I'm picking up, and thinking that, A, am I going to like this? Is this something I want to read? Like, do I have a reason for reading this? Is the real thing I want to do? And if I want just a cheesy YA read, like, then yeah, I'll pick that up. But most of the time, that's not what I want anymore. And I have internally recognized this, and now I want to externally recognize it when I pick up a book. So that is my rationale for that goal. My 4th goal is for specifically this booktube channel, and that is to make 2 videos a week, which it is now the 2nd week of January. I've made 1 video this month, so I'm behind. That's okay. We're treating ourselves with grace. I'm just now making this video. I'm just now saying it out loud. But the goal really is to make at least 2 videos a week. I want to be much more consistent with this platform. I started booktube back in August of 2020 because I was not in a like super good place mentally and emotionally, and I wanted something that made me feel good, made me feel connected to the world, and I got to talk about something that I really loved, which was books. And I think this booktube channel has been so important in really doing all of those things for me. But I did have to put my nose to the grindstone at the end of the year last year and really finish out my degree, and that sort of took away from the booktube channel, so I didn't really get to devote as much time and energy into it as it probably, if I want to make it anywhere near successful, it needs. But again, this is just for me and to have fun. But I think sort of pushing myself to make 2 videos a week will help push me creatively. It helps push me to keep reading, and especially sort of in the beginning of the year, that's what I want to do. I am currently #unemployed, so I'm also looking for jobs, but that is nowhere near as time consuming as finishing my degree. So we'll see if that changes once my next job starts. But for now, we're gonna make 2 videos a week. And number 5 is just to create content I'm proud of. And so while I did set my goal to 2 videos a week, I really want to push myself to make stuff I'm really proud of, make content that I really want to watch, and not really just like, I guess when I started my booktube channel, I sort of wrote out all the books all of the videos I thought I was gonna make, and a lot of that has changed in that I don't really just want to make like, here's 5 books I think you should read about space, which was what I thought I was gonna make, which was silly. But I really do want to help really flex and push that creative muscle. I'm constantly inspired by Mare. Mare reads. Half my video ideas are like, I watched one of her videos and then I'm like, what if I change like one aspect of this? So I do just really want to continue to create content I'm really proud of. Some of that content includes, I made a video that was books you should read instead of Hillbilly Elegy. That's been my most successful video, and that's the video I'm the most proud of. So like, I really love that and I'm proud of that. So I want to make more content like that I just really like want to share with people. Yeah, that's sort of my reflections of half a year on booktube, quite a few years more reading. But those are my goals for this year, so we'll see how they pan out. I'm hoping to, like, at the end of 2021 sort of rewatch this and see how I did. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. And what are your reading goals this year? Drop them down in the comments. But yeah, thanks for hanging out.